Welcome back, everyone, to the final day of the Perfect World Asia League 2020, the fall edition. And I just had my lunch and I bit into a really big chili, and my mouth is on fire right now. I'm struggling to speak, but I also feel like this game is going to be a spicy affair as well. And joining you, and joining me rather, joining all of us actually, is going to be these three wonderful, lovely gentlemen. As usual, we got Tom, we got Mitch, we got Dinko, and of course, we have Bren versus Checkmate. Now, Tom, let's start with you. I mean, going from
Game of the year.
The one we've all been waiting for.
Listen, hold on. My mouth's burning. I messed up, folks. I
was thinking you're looking hot today.
Thanks, Mitch. I do try for you. Not as hot as Jinko, though. But Tom, I mean, coming from Tiger Vici beating Tyloo, you come into this matchup and you're going to be, lads, Brendan, Checkmate, who really cares? But I won't lie. Checkmate have been a team who have impressed me quite a lot. I think they've impressed all of us quite a bit. And they're going to be facing off against a Bren who I feel like this has been the best tournament they've had in maybe forever. So it should still be a pretty entertaining game of Counter-Strike we have.
Yeah, for sure. Especially on the fact that the weird thing about Checkmate is they always seem to beat the teams that are a lot better than them. That's been the peculiar thing throughout this tournament, is that they beat Vici 2-0, they beat After 2-0, and then they lost to like Sigma and Bren as two teams to give examples of. So it's a bit of a weird one. Like they're a team that has definitely become a bit of a mystery to us. I think the biggest problem that they have at the moment is map pool. If they can get some depth in that, then I genuinely think they could get top 4 next time.
Well, we will see if that's going to be the case. They're a team we've really enjoyed watching. But let's talk a bit about the individuals on both the teams, Mitch. I mean, for the side of Checkmate, I think everyone really pitches in. There's no one standout player. Techno 4K being the one guy because, he's 16 years old, standard, have that entire storyline going for him. But aside of Bren, it has been Derek and with his right-hand man, Poppy. Apart from that, I feel like it's the same old tale of the other individuals just being inconsistent for this team.
Poppy has been really good throughout this entire tournament. I think he's really impressed me. But Derek, yeah, he's the man. He's the myth. He's the legend. And when you look at Bren, he's the one that carries them across the line in a lot of the games that they're able to win. I think if I see a game where he's not performing, I know that Bren are going to lose. And that's kind of a concerning thing for me, that you have one guy who you're so heavily relying on. Whereas, yeah, when you look at Checkmate, they have had weaker performances. I think Hawk and Rue in particular have been players that haven't really stepped up to the same level of what we've seen from Kaz, Blitz, and Techno throughout this tournament, but they have had their games and they've been filling out the roles. Techno, massively impressive, even when it comes down to decision-making. I think he's a really bright, shining light of what young players in the region can look up to and what they should be striving to be, not this sort of ludicrous style that Tyloo play out with every single time. I mean, you look at Attacker, this guy just rushing through every single smoke that he sees, and it's really nice to then see Checkmate, who play this structured Counter-Strike. And honestly, next to Vici, I think they are the most structured team in this tournament, which is shocking, honestly, because we didn't know who the hell Checkmate were coming into it.
Yeah,
we didn't. And excuse me, Dinka, one more thing I want to add is, like, these two teams both have kind of a new fifth coming in. Techno, unfortunately, standing in for his teammate, for Kane, who broke his hand. I hope his hand's fine now. It's been a month. Hopefully, Kane, your hand's feeling much better. But Techno has been a fantastic stand-in. Micro, coming in for Bren, was a permanent fifth, replacing Ja. He hasn't really delivered. He's had his moments. He's had his maps.
Yeah, he's not much of an upgrade, right? He's not really done anything different than what was wrong with the team before. What I do feel has happened for Bren that's got them into a better position is nothing to do with Micro, but more so to do with the elevation of performance out of Derek even further, right? He did play really well back in the previous PAL, but now he's just so consistently getting above 20 kills. He was dropping 27 against some teams that are just near the top, like the Tyloos, the Vichis, the Tigers, the better teams in this tournament, and Derek can show he can hang with those guys. And the problem we always talked about in the previous PAL for Bren was they just didn't have the firepower to compete, and it was Papachulo and Derek having to do pretty much everything. And unfortunately, that's not going to be enough when you go up against some of these raw aim stars in Asia. So, yeah, Bren have that problem. I feel like they still have it. They've got a skill ceiling that's way lower than a lot of the other teams, unfortunately. That what they can achieve is just much, much less than the rest of the rosters here, unfortunately, for them, just because the fact they don't really have the individuals. And the other problem is it seems like there isn't a very rich scene where they're from, right? There's no pool of players to choose from. You just kind of have to take what's available. And I think that's where you come into a problem where you just got to be trying players and no one's going to really be the right fit.
Yeah, that could be the case. And even like looking at let's talk about the maps a little bit here, Tom. I'm going to give this. I'm going to send this your way. I'm just looking at the maps these two teams play, and honestly, I feel like Checkmate, even though they're the newest team we're seeing on the block, but they seem to have a more dangerous map pool. Like, sure, you look at that nuke, like they've only played 2 nukes. They thrashed Vici on it, just wrecked them. So suddenly, if you're Bren, this map veto is starting to look very, very scary, some people might say.
Yeah, to an extent, I agree. To an extent, I disagree. Like, obviously, the nuke pick is not going to be allowed, which I actually quite like. But at the same time, it was one where I feel like they played off momentum rather than actually off like being very good at the map. They also got banged out by Invictus on it, so it's not too much to learn from. The smart thing for Bren, though, is just keep away from it. They don't need to play that map. The opportunity to have something like Vertigo come through doesn't really happen for them, so they don't need to ban it out. I think this veto just comes up very good for them. Sure, their Inferno has been a bit questionable throughout this tournament, but their train has been pretty decent. Like, we've seen them like go toe-to-toe with a few fairly good teams, like obviously losing closely to Invictus. I guess they did lose to After, which is completely unacceptable. And then the third being a Mirage choice, which, is Checkmate's worst map statistically, losing to pretty much everyone in this tournament. So, I think realistically, like, Bren, I wouldn't say they're favored, but they almost should be. Like, I think we've just got this we've almost romanticized the story of Checkmate because they've beaten Vici and they've challenged Tyloo. Also beaten Tiger. So if anything, they should be a top 4 team in this tournament. The problem is the weaknesses this team has is that they lose to everyone else.
That is something which you have to agree on. And I'm actually going to disagree a little bit here. I'm supposed to be the host, supposed to be a little bit more impartial. I feel Checkmate actually have the edge here, Mitch. I don't know if you're going to be agreeing with Tom or myself, but I feel like, even if you look at the maps, I feel like Mirage getting picked by Bren earlier on would have made things a little bit more interesting, because that's a map where Checkmate have lost pretty convincingly to a few teams who they shouldn't be losing to in that fashion. They really haven't had those really close losses, so to speak. But Train, it is 50-50. It's up in the air. It's like, if Bren really shows up, yeah, they have to win.
16-2'd them last time.
Yeah, that's the issue, right? It's like, so I agree, Train in general, like Checkmate have looked okay on that map, but the problem is that one time that they played Bren, they got 16-2'd on Train.
True.
And like, that is not good. Like, how do you bounce back from that? They beat Beyond, they beat Paper X, they lost to Huatsai, like, I don't know. I don't know about their Train. I think that Checkmate's issue is that their map pool is very, very limited. And okay, they get lucky that Bren don't play Overpass or Vertigo, and they're not getting punished in that sense. Nuke isn't in here either. So again, another world in which you're not getting massively slapped. But I think the fact that Train has come through is a convincing map for Bren. Inferno. The weird thing here is Inferno is a map where Checkmate beat Vici, where they beat Tyloo, they beat Tiger, and they lost to Bren last time. It's like, are you good or not? Like, what's going on? Checkmate.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
are you good or not? I want to answer to everyone.
Every single team. That's just the pre-tournament next pal. Just so, guys, are you good? Oh,
we can get Banks in for that one. Yeah. We can just like, no, sorry, Banks. You've got all these in-depth questions that you've come up with, but this is what you have to ask, and just.
I mean, I've heard
Nico,
interviewers
congratulations
ask, are you
on winning
win?
your game. Phase of one. I am New York. Are you good or not? Yeah, that'd be great.
To be fair, you'll get some better answers out of that than some of the answers you get from current pro players sometimes. So, I feel like
do you want to call anyone out?
Like,
Dinko.
they're too politically correct. I just want some, or just too PR.
Do you want them to not be politically correct?
So basically, talk about Astralis. You're talking about Astralis. Name and shame them, Dinko. Come on.
It's not just Astralis, though. There's other teams that are just so...
Dinko hates Astralis, confirmed.
Yeah. Actually, no.
That's why I like NACS, though. That's why I like NACS. Like, some of them really like trash talking. I also love Fnatic for that reason. But I do believe we have almost all the players ready to go live and jump into the server. However, before we do that, Tom, I think you went with Bren, right? It's Bren 2-1?
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Bren. I like this Checkmate team a lot, and I'd like them to prove me wrong, but realistically, Bren beat them last time. I think they'll do it again.
Okay, Mitch.
I'm the same. I think Bren probably going to take this. I want to believe in Checkmate, but Train, it was just too convincing last time. It should be a free map.
All right, Dinko.
I'm going to go with Bren as well. It's sad, but I think we've romanticized Checkmate a little bit too much. I agree with Tom, and I think it's going to be a Bren 2-1.
Okay, it's kind of crazy. All of you guys are like, oh, you guys are romanticizing too much. I'm the old jaded fool sitting over here. But you know what? Deep down inside, I'm still a believer. I still believe in the Mongolian boys. I still believe Checkmate's going to take this and get that 5th place over my Filipino friends. But that's not my job to narrate. It's going to be Tom and, of course, Mitch bringing you guys the action as me and Dinko are going to get the hell out of here.
Well, Schlon Lat, boys, catches in a bit. Tom, we're ready to jump on in, and as we look into the first map, how are you feeling about Inferno? Because, look, it was a close affair last time. Checkmate have beaten the best in the region. Tyloo, Vici, Tiger. Literally doesn't matter who you think is the best right now. They've beaten them. But then they've lost to the worst teams like your Whatseyes, your Brens. It's confusing. I don't understand it. How do you think this one's going to go?
I think this is still going to be a Checkmate map. If I'm being honest, I don't think that I was incredibly impressed with Bren's map last time. I think it's more that we just had some criminal underperformers in that series as a whole. And that's one of the main things that I'm looking at here is that, okay, do I necessarily think that Bren are the better team? I'm not sure. I think I would probably give that over to Checkmate. The problem is Checkmate have way more players that just disappear off the face of the earth. Like, bear in mind, we've sort of hyped up that Rue and Hawk are some of the players that can explode into the maps. In that series, they went -17 and -25 over 2 maps. 2 maps. That's ridiculous. That's such a low score. I don't think we've seen that from anyone else really in this whole tournament. Like, Rue was -12 on the first map and -13 on the second. He went 4 and 17 on Train. Like, that's probably the worst performance he's had this entire tournament, including some of the best players. So I don't think that's going to happen again. I think that the chances are we're going to see a better performance from them overall. So I think realistically they can fix the problems on this map. And at least this time they're starting out on Inferno. I like the fact that we've switched things up a little bit. And they're going to start on a map they're good at rather than getting battered on Train and then have to try and mentally reset, which for a very inexperienced team is quite hard to do.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that you're 100% right there. The fact that we have swapped order definitely helps them out that little bit. Now, here we go. They're going to start out on the T side, of course, because it's their map pick, and the TeamSpeak issues have now been resolved. We're just having that little bit of a tech issue delaying the map start, but now the teams are ready to roll. We're seeing a CZ bot up for Wits alongside a Smoke. He's obviously playing over towards the B site. And, interesting. So he was the 3rd man B. They've got 2 players aggressive down towards the bottom of Banana, and they are just continuing to aggress, finding every single kill as they go. Techno, he manages to trade back one on the top mid, but immediately gets domed when he looks into Banana. And Bren, well, they're starting out this pistol in a pretty convincing manner.
Well, Derek, it just seems like he's going ham, playing a pistol DM to start off this map. With Rue now the only one standing. Oh dear. Oh, that was a chance for a freebie. He's dead for sure. Derek gonna get a 4K. Started off on B, ended up in top mid. That's an interesting pistol round for sure. And yeah, Checkmate have just been completely out-aimed in that one. They're gonna opt to force buy back in. It's interesting because it seems like versus some teams, their structured style really works out for them. But the thing that sort of makes the difference between, say, a Vici and a Checkmate is the fact that Vici have this sort of, like, pug-style ability, if you will. They have that opportunity that Jamyoung can just take over a round. Like, they have some of these individual players that can just go nuts. I don't think there's too many of them over on this Checkmate roster. Papi Chulo has just run down mid. And while it started well for Checkmate with Techno getting a kill or 2, but ultimately it's ended in the fashion we expected.
Indeed, it has. The 2-0. For Brandon, it wasn't too impactful, right? As you said, Checkmate got that little bit of damage, but they'll still be able to get a pretty comfy buy into this one. Like 3 players that still have cash for the next round is the important thing for me. Although likelihood is they'll take pistols to get a really strong investment if they do lose. So maybe an opportunity for Checkmate to at least equalize and build up some T rounds. The issue for them is that, well, their better investments are behind them. And with Deagles in play, it's less than ideal. They look for the close mid fights. And you can see here for Poppy Chulo, he has no idea that Rue has just snuck through that smoke. He spotted him now, though, and that's the freest kill of his life. Rue not even looking out on short. And I'm surprised that if you get a player creeping up through long, surely it's the... Well, I don't agree with him spamming through the smoke when there's deagles bottom mid. That was a little bit silly.
Oh my god.
But when your teammate has shift walked through the smoke and gone up through long, Tom, isn't that the moment in which you peek out of boiler and look for the player on short and make sure you're providing some cover and not just tuck away and allow him to die?
Sure.
They've not done that.
I don't know what you wanted me to say there. Like, should they play Counter-Strike? Fundamentally correct? Yes, they should, Mitchell.
Well, I'm glad we've cleared that up, Tom. This is the full buyer for Checkmate, and you can see they're already getting a little bit slapped. They've lost a player through the smoke. Papi Chulo getting revenge for his death in the previous round, and that has pumped the brakes at Checkmate straight away. They were making a fairly fast play towards top mid, and now they want to just slow it down and really think about what they're doing. It's a very important round.
Is it weird that I genuinely think that because Checkmate managed to beat Tiger, which is obviously they've been really bad in domestic matchups. That seems to be a thing that just Tiger do. They're against Mongolians, they just seem to be awful. I think that forced other teams to show them more respect than they would have done. And I think that played into Checkmate's hands, because what we're currently witnessing from Bren is no respect. Like, almost every single kill that they've had has been, like, peeking into mid or battles on banana. Like, they are just fighting like that. You're already 2 men up and you're still fighting mid. Like, that's ludicrous. And well, now they're actually being punished for it. But I think that actually Checkmate struggle when teams play like this versus them. Kaz, though, clearly he thrives. Derek is going to find one that he's still peeking. This is mental. This round from Bren has hurt my brain.
I would agree entirely with you, other than the fact that they did play against Tyloo, who no doubt played like this against them, and they managed to win.
Yeah, but they almost lost every game. That's the thing. That's the problem. Like, Tyloo lost a map to almost every single team. So, obviously, it's a great win for Checkmate to win a map off Tyloo. But if every team does it, it stops being impressive.
Yeah.
Whereas the victories against Tiger and Vici are genuinely impressive, because they won both maps, or 2. This round, though, from Bren is atrocious. Like, it's just atrocious. Like, they're in a 5-on-3. One man peeks short, one man peeks from the cubby. Then you have a man who has pick control in a 2v2, and he wide swings. Like, that. I genuinely couldn't have thought of a way that they could have played that round, or that 5-on-3 worse.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, it didn't make a lot of sense. Coming into the pistol round, though, somehow they're coming ahead. Managing to open it up with the deagle on Derek, the spam through the smoke, almost asking them to come on forward and look for the fights. And while they're doing that on short, wrecking this A defense completely. But they now think A is clear, and they are very, very wrong about that. 2 players still wait around. Apichulo not able to hit the shot. Are they realizing something's up? No one's in banana, no one's rotated, no one's making noise, and there you go. Micro eventually finds the kill, and they're going to just go B with the bomb. I like the fact that they didn't just hard commit to the site, blindly rushing in and giving the pistol the opportunity, realizing there was a possibility of a stack coming into play. He's not even going to manage to save the rifle, as Rue just lurked around and waited for him to push on forward and give the opportunity. Take the rifle out of his hands. We go 3-2. Checkmate. They get on the board nice and early. And as much as it was a big mistake by Bren, I mean, you're going to take it if you're Checkmate. Remember, the next map, last time they played on it, was 16-2 in favor of Bren. So this is really a win condition for Checkmate to pick this map up. And on the T side, you're looking at about 5 or 6 rounds, I think is reasonable, once you're comfortable with the map.
Oh, Wix is almost dead. I genuinely think that if Checkmate win this first map, they can win the second, though. Because it's like, for example, like, there's no real reason we should say that they should win Train. but then there was no real reason we should say that they should beat Vici on Nuke. So, and they just managed to do it off of, like, their players were performing. This is madness. This is absolute madness. They've gone pushing through the CT smoke that they threw. Thankfully, they've fallen back, but this game, I think the problem, Mitch, is that we've had, although Tyloo normally play Ludicrous, the way they played versus both Vici and Tiger was actually relatively normal. Like, there are a few rounds here and there that were, like, silly, like the way they lost the first map to Pistols, but it wasn't, like, out-and-out stupidity like we've seen from them in the past. So we've had these sort of, like, two normal-ish games, and then we've gone to this. The contrast is insane.
Yeah, 100%.
I need to get back to my frame of mind of just understanding that anybody can do anything at any moment at any time.
It's so true as well, though. It is the really perplexing thing, though, Tom. Like, there are fundamental rules in Counter-Strike. You don't push through smokes when you know there's pistols on the other side. These rules
or when
don't
you're
translate.
in a 5-on-3 and you haven't yet got the bomb down.
Yeah, what I've learned is that, so, European languages are based on Latin, right? And what's Chinese based on? Chinese, I'm guessing?
I don't know. It's not my area of expertise.
Cantonese root. So it's it doesn't descend
And
from.
Kibble.
It's why it's so hard for English people to learn Chinese and Chinese people to learn English, because they're so different. Same with Irish.
My girlfriend's trying to learn Chinese right now.
Yeah, good luck to her. So it's like Irish, for example. It's not based on Latin either. It's one of the few European languages that it's based on Celtic, which is completely
Also,
different.
they don't have letters, from what I know. They just have things that mean a word. So you just have to learn lots
China.
of words.
I thought you were talking about Irish, and I was like, well, that's fundamentally
Oh, no,
untrue.
that just... Irish is... It's
It's
just
like, wait, do I not
gibberish,
know
but-
my own language? What? We don't have
Oh,
letters?
Pappy! He's just managed to find 3 kills.
Pappy.
We're moving away from the language talk. Yeah, I say that on a regular basis, and we're not always talking Counter-Strike. But Wits is going to find Hawk as well. Bren have bounced back, or have they? Yes, they have. There we go. Micro. He's a grower, not a shower. And he is going to find himself the final frag with the SMG.
That was always my excuse. Well, 4-3, good position. Yeah, back to our language talk. The I think obviously Bly will be able to give more insight, I believe, because he understood the origins of Chinese, which is better than us. So I think it's like there's some characters that mean like 2 letters or 3 letters, but they don't have like an alphabet traditional in the way we think of an alphabet, though, from what I understand. But yeah, basically what I'm saying is our phrase of, you know, like our typical rules of Counter-Strike, I think we might have sent them to China, but unfortunately Google Translate really messed it up. So they instead of do not push through the smokes, like the way it translated in Chinese was like push through smokes, and it just the do not didn't exist. So they were like, oh, cool, always push through smokes, gotcha. Things like that. Always miss a word here or there and the context is lost.
Well, Kaz is going to manage to find the trade onto Wits, who was low on HP. Oh, is there a flash for? There's no flash for this, so he's just going to try and walk through it. And it worked.
Yep, as we said.
Happy Chulo caught out. Derek then pushed out of the pit. He's played that pit position a couple of times now, the exact same way, and it doesn't seem to be working too well, to say the least. And now Micro... Oh, he does need to show us what he's got this time. Kaz is going to win them the round. Again, like, these sort of things that we're seeing from Checkmate shouldn't be possible, but...
But they are.
You know, but they are. Yeah, I guess that's the only real thing. Like, you can't explain what Kaz did in this round. Like, it's not... Like, he was already low on HP. That duel from Wits when you're already low is silly. And then this, he just walks through the smoke. And Papi Chulo, He's even waiting for that sort of play and still doesn't manage to hit the shots.
No,
So it's good. Checkmate, equalizing.
I realize now my excuse doesn't even make sense because the Art of War, of course, was originally in Chinese, from what I understand. I'm completely wrong there. I'm basing that off Red Cliff. What a damn movie. Unbelievable. So, obviously, I've read the English version. Not too good at reading the Chinese version, I will be honest. And, like, there's expressions like know when to fight and when not to fight. Avoid what is strong and strike at what is weak. And they're like, push through the smoke. That's the way to go. Oh.
Is there nothing about the element of surprise?
95 damage onto Kaz with the taser. That is unfortunate. The Zeus, depending on the range, doesn't always do 100, and so it's a sad sight. I'll always remember the day I found that out. I got 95 in one on a Zeus, and I was so unbelievably agitated.
Gotta get good, to be honest.
Exactly. Get good.
1v5 for Derek. He's had a couple of good rounds, but this would be... well, it's impossible. Why am I even trying to build this up to be anything?
Yeah.
This is impossible. A 5-4 scoreline. Checkmate now taking the lead on the T side. I feel like Bren have had their opportunities, but they've let now a couple of silly rounds split. The 5-on-3 that they had was just ridiculous. Like I don't know what they were trying to attempt there. And obviously the round where Kaz has just pushed through the smoke. Happy also having a good start, but that's the thing. It's only really been their aggression that's been paying off for them. Their holds on the sites are relatively weak. By the looks of it, might be trying a bit of aggression once again. Papi Chulo waiting around the edge of the smoke. You've got the AWP currently set up on Banana, although Wits is actually going to walk through a Molotov, it seems, to get a slightly more aggressive position. Flash through the smoke. Spray down's only good for one. And while there's only one man standing, Derek left alone. First kill has gone his way as he denies a man coming through from the apartments. Don't think that smoke actually helped him too much. And Wits on the rotation is... I was going to say is dead. Oh, God.
I mean, we started a position where Bren are looking solid on the CT side, and it quickly spirals. I feel like for Checkmate, as I said, 5 or 6 rounds, all they need. They've already met that. And the possibility to build up more definitely there. It's scary times, dire straits for the Bren lineup. Can we talk about Inferno as a map that will look good for Checkmate? We were all in agreement on that one. The possibility for them to take it is definitely there. When it comes to Train, Tom doesn't think that that it'll be a problem if Checkmate win this one. I don't know. I feel like
I honestly think they're the most momentum-based team in this entire tournament. Like,
Okay.
I think once their star players get going, they're very difficult to stop. I think that I genuinely think because they're in an experienced team, if they get pumped up and they're feeling good and they're playing well, then they can just individually win most maps. And they have some okay setups. The problem was, in the last one, they lost 16-2, so then they lost Inferno closely. I think if they win Inferno and then go on to Train, I don't think it's going to be amazing, but I think that they have a good opportunity to take them out.
I'm with you 100%. That makes a lot of sense for sure. I mean, like we've seen it from Blitz, right? Where he has a bad start to series and you just don't see from him. You might as well start writing them letters because it's it'll take about as long until you see him, few days. The postman to come and bring you another Blitz performance, but it's definitely a point that I take on board. My problem with them is their experience on that map is just shown, like versus Huatsai as well. Like they beat Paperex, they beat Beyond, who looked pretty trash, let's be honest, and then they lose to Huatsai and they lose to Bren. I don't know that I believe that they've got enough of a fundamental grasp over how to play that map, but then again, as you said, maybe the momentum will make a big difference. Maybe Bren not doing too well. We'll put them down in the dumps as
Bren
well.
also lost. So I will go ahead and say my least favorite, my least favorite series was that first series we saw from After.
Uh-huh.
And after managed to, and that was one of the maps was Train, obviously, with some of the worst decision making we've ever seen.
Yep.
After beat Bren on Train. So I'm not like, I'm not sat here selling Train as like Bren are the maestros of the map. They've like proven that they are the dons of Train or anything. No, they lost to Tiger. That they beat D13, who didn't even make it to the tournament. They lost to After, then they beat Invictus, then they lost to Beyond, and they beat Checkmate. Like, it's back and forth. In fact, it's a beautiful pattern of loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. So if anything, if the pattern continues, they should win. But who knows, really? Who knows?
Yeah, it doesn't always. It's not always easy to make those conclusions, right? 1-1 sometimes makes 7 when it comes to Counter-Strike in general, and I think more so in this region. Day-to-day predictions are hard to make for how a team's going to show up. And, well, he's been pummeled hard a couple of times by those nades towards Top Banana, and again they come in to deal some serious damage. 37 off the bat. And a 3-man stack to the B site gives them straight through the middle. What in the world was that? Through a molotov by the... how the decision of a caveman to grunt a certain way, which evolved into your language, changes how you play Counter-Strike.
I think, isn't that like in theory the best language is actually one of the most recent ones, which is South Korean.
Oh,
because
really?
I think it's one of the easiest to learn because it is. I think the whole language is phonetical, so like, which makes perfect as it is spelled. I might have got that wrong. Obviously, if I have got that wrong, someone can check. But I'm fairly certain that it's a language that is very well designed, which it makes sense the way a lot of things are done in South Korea. So,
I mean, the
in
best
theory,
example.
it's one of the easier ones to learn, but I'm not sure. Obviously, in terms of how well it is used elsewhere. For example, there's not many other countries that speak the language, so
Yeah. I do want, well, I think that's the thing as well. The language evolves so differently across large landscapes. Like, even look at America. What always perplexes me is how does everybody speak in a different accent when they all came from roughly the same places? They're all, so if you get, 1,000 people and you put them in groups of 100 and scatter them across different places, they'll all evolve to speak differently. I know that's just RNG, but it's so odd how they don't evolve the same way or close enough to the same.
well, like for example, with you not being able to say the letter R
What do you mean?
or RNG,
RNG, yeah.
or RNG,
RNG.
Orangina. I like that drink.
RNG. I don't know what you're talking about.
RNG.
No, I'm not a pirate.
That's not the letter, sir.
RNG. I'm a pirate calling my friend Angie. RNG.
All right, Orangina. But here we go. It is going to be the entry for Micro. The AK starting things off strong, but it is still the AWP of Kaz in position. He would have needed to hit a tasty shot to be able to get that one through. Wow, Papi Chulo is going to finish things off. Bren, they bounce back almost instantly after what was looking like a strong start to this second half. And now things are going to be a little bit awkward for the side of Checkmate. They're actually going to invest. Really? That Techno... Okay, that makes more sense. I was about to say, I thought he was going to play an AWP with... or M4 with no armor for a second, but I guess they decided to juggle things around. This is a heavy investment into Kaz, who has been pretty good so far, but I don't know. I think I'd rather see Techno with a rifle, especially considering he plays the B site, which a lot of the time is going to come under heavy fire, and he's been left with a flashbang and a deagle.
It's a mixed bag for sure. It's like the... after you come home from Halloween, it's what you've got in your sack. Which for Dinko is nothing. Nothing left. He eats it all on the way around. I've seen him. But enough about Dinko emptying the sack. Let's take a look at Bren and how they want to push into this B bomb site. Techno, he's just been hit in the face by a flying pistol after his teammate got taken down. Now, the AWP of Kaz. He's going to boost his teammate up, I think. Yeah, there you go. Up above. And Tom, we love it when teams check this position and they've checked it straight away. Thankfully.
I'm surprised Kaz is even still going for this. Like, chances of them winning the round are slim to none. Well, they definitely know his AWP's here as well. I don't know what... There's no exit strategy here, is there? I was hoping there would be one. It almost seemed like they didn't know he was there. Micro, well, there goes the AWP. That was not worth the investment at all. I would much rather have seen a rifle in play for Techno. I think in terms of impact on the B side, could have done a lot more. And then Kaz doesn't even decide to try and save it. So Hawk will keep his rifle into the next round. That's all we're going to see for the side of Checkmate. And now Bren, they're going to be getting up to 8th. And if they continue on this trajectory, they could have a pretty damn good T side coming.
Oh, they definitely could. Checkmate, I think, have got to be sweating a little bit after that one. It wasn't even anything particularly special, but the reality is, obviously, their buy wasn't too special either. It was tough to work with a lot of those pistols. You had to come in with some more aggressive plays, and obviously, that didn't get them anywhere good. Now, when you look at this round, obviously, there is very little that can be done. Even coming into the next, honestly, Checkmate aren't going to have the best of buys. It's still going to be lacking in certain departments, so I really see this as a massive advantage for Bren. They need to go through this without losing any players. They want to get it as convincingly as they can. But almost the more important thing is to ensure that Checkmate don't save. Now, they've lost Papi Chulo straight away. That's the one rifle spotted. But it's a hard decision to make where you go, because have they stacked up around the rifle? Have they got one or two extra players here? Or are they stacked up on the other side, which is the rifle playing by himself?
Interesting that they've gone for Arch. Oh, there goes that. That rifle didn't last long at all. An easy kill for Micro. He's starting to have some high-impact rounds for his team. We've mentioned him as a criminal underperformer, as someone who's come into this roster, but if he can help them get to a 5th place, I don't think your goals could be much higher if you're Bren in this tournament. Like, realistically, the top 4 was somewhat set in stone. Just a few upsets along the way kind of upset things. I think, if anything, like, most of these teams would be looking at a top 6 being a huge success, with the likes of Beyond obviously bombing out of the tournament in surprise fashion. The thing will be is who's going to get that extra cash. It's unfortunate that a lot of the time the invites for these tournaments are based off of the RMR points. So realistically, like, neither of these teams gained anything for the next one. But I don't know. Maybe they'll get an additional one there, or just have a better chance in the qualifiers. I'm not sure how that's going to be done next time. We don't even know when the next time will be, I guess, at this point.
Well, that hurt. Kaz has just been naded on his tippity toes, and they're going to rotate to the B side off the back of very little. Micro left around here to lurk and maybe try to sell a little bit of a fake. He's poking out to see if he can spot anyone, but they've already made noise towards the B side, so I'm guessing this is just going to be hard commitment to the lurk. The timing is perfect for him as well. As Kaz backs off, he's now not watching it. Micro can get up behind them. He's coming out, but he jumps up at the wrong moment, just as these two players from short come through and check apps. Now, though, this push on B, they don't know if it's going to be fully committed to, but they realize now as they push up apps and no one's there, the T's come swinging in towards this B site. Danking would be proud. And it looks like Bren, they've overrun them. It should just be the retake setup. Techno. No, not quite going to happen for him.
I do wonder what his sensitivity is. Either he's playing with, like, Zoking level arm movements, or it's very high. Like, it just looks like it almost jolts as he moves. Nice retake, though, from Checkmate. Every single kill coming up in a matter of seconds. They're going to take the lead a little bit further as they get themselves to 12. But a bomb plant with the reserve cash that's there for Bren means that they're not really in any sort of trouble. The CT side have to be careful that this isn't just a one and done and an instant reset.
It always upsets me hearing that word, Tom. You say reset, and I think of the good old days. Back when we actually had resets. Back when you got punished for winning a random round. And back when games weren't all 30 rounds.
Yeah, we've had a lot. Like, yesterday, the Tyloo versus Vici one. 2 overtimes. And 30 rounds on the last. Lots of utility damage being done early, though, in this banana battle. Micro has managed to get here for free, but doesn't win the duel. That's heartbreaking. It made a good play for information. Didn't manage to capitalize off of it. Now, with the amount of damage done, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. bit of an audacious angle even being held by Rue just behind the smoke. It might be one that's a bit unexpected, but even a bullet landing onto him would be enough for the kill to go in the other direction. Once the smoke fades, so does he. Derek doesn't even check the angle initially, but well, it won't matter anyway. Rue has fallen, and now the push looks to begin onto this A site. 3 men defending it. We've seen some poor pit play so far from Derek, and Hawk show him how it's done.
Oh, we'll see. Hawk has been having the best of games, best of series. Let's see if he can get done from the pit. Blitz has already fallen, so it has to be huge, and he's already down for 1. Oh, look at this, though. Techno 4K, the hero of the round as Hawk comes through to take the finale. 13-9 checkmate. Well, they've connected that one just about. I have to say, when I look down towards the Bren side, it's the same old boy leading the charge. Derek up there on 19 kills. He's carried them through a lot of these rounds. But he can't do it all. I think that's where Checkmate come in, where they just have more consistency on some of these players. Even when you look at Blitz and Kaz, who, yeah, okay, they've been up and down. I still feel like they deliver more often than what we've seen from some of the Checkmate guys, or the Bren guys.
The way that his picture looks reminds me of, like, you know you're sort of like your nemesis in the Pokemon games, who just whenever you like beat a stage, he just like pops up and goes, "I want to battle." Like, and you're just like, "Oh, for God's sake!" Like, you never again? You've never played a Pokemon game?
No.
You're banned. Get out of here. What do you mean? Like, you didn't have a childhood, is what you basically just said.
Games as a
you
kid.
didn't have a childhood. That's official. Like, Dinko is still a child, and he's had more of a childhood than you.
Listen, I was never that into Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh was way better.
You're going to want to stop talking right about now. Like, you're digging yourself a deeper hole.
So Yu-Gi-Oh was all about skill. Pokemon was just like Teletubbies.
This is why no one likes you.
I had a Charizard necklace, though. I love Charizard. He's pretty cool. And that's the only... I know Squirtle and Pikachu, and I'm gone. I'm out.
Well, Pro is going to try and win this 1 versus 3 situation. CT's kind of fell off of this one. I would say they're looking to play it together, but I'm not even sure if that was the case. Maybe they expected it to be more of an A hit. Now Kaz is waiting patiently on the angle, and it's all too easy in the end. Checkmate are going to get themselves a 14th round, but a bomb plant will actually help out Bren quite significantly in their financial position. Means that they will at least have a bye coming up into the next round.
Always found Pikachu just kind of annoying as well. Pika. Shut up.
You're not allowed to talk about what you find annoying. the sheer irony.
Well, here we go. Well, that's a bad start. Wits, he's traded out in the fade back. Rue's just around the corner, ready to frag and checkmate. Man advantage, low HP on micro. This could be it for Bren. No. Okay, I saw them go to T-spawn. I was like, they're not saving with a minute 30. Surely not, but yeah, indeed, they're not.
It seems like Checkmate have gained some confidence in this round as well. They battled for Banana, but also had a push into the apartments. That's how the initial kill came in. Micro now manning the AWP. Obviously, Wits' aggressive play was crazy, is the only word that can really be used. Smoke's going to be coming down. Even more damage being done by utility. The spam shots through are not going to do too much. However, Rue is going to find one through the smoke. It's gone from bad to worse for Bren, and well, the remaining 2 players are just about starting their rotation, not too far away, and that was just a side swipe. No way that was intentional. Pro is going to fall as well. It's another bomb plant. It's another financial boost for Bren, but that's all they've really had over the last few rounds. Checkmate paving their way towards the first map victory after what was it was a decent first half, I suppose. It was more disappointing from Bren after what was a good initial start. And now in the second half, we're getting back to what we like to see from Checkmate.
Much better than the previous time they played, and I think you're right to an extent. Definitely about the confidence when it came through to the likes of Train. Not quite being there. Didn't look as good as it should have. Maybe this time we'll see a big turnaround and a big performance for Checkmate. Bren certainly aren't looking on form as they come into the final round. We'll see what they're going to be able to do, and I'm not too hopeful about this one. I'll be honest, 6 rounds in a row, well, it's more than Bren have been able to muster so far. Smoke's coming over, flashes as well. The nade, oh, that was a risky time to throw one out, but the spray transfer, Blitz, he gets it easy as they come around the corner up close, and that's it. It's done. It's over. Micro's 3 HP. Derek's going to have a huge clutch on this one. He's dead. Yeah, no chance. Bomb dropped. And a 1v4 clutch for Derek.
He's been one of the better players, but that's not really saying too much. Hawk, that's a freebie. They now know where he is at least, but they've given him a small opening. Try and make a play into. He's going to be coming in. Man in the pit. Probably going to make things that little bit harder. He's got to retrieve the bomb. And Rue is waiting. 16-9. Checkmate. A little bit of a slow start to this match, but once they get into things, it was a strong T side and a stronger finish to the CT side of this map. Bren never really showing up, never looking comfortable, and well, it was just poor from them, if I'm being brutally honest. There's a few $1,000s extra on the line, and it doesn't seem like that has quite hit home just yet.
Yeah, as I said when we were looking at the games yesterday, this is $3,000 between $2,000, between 6th and 5th place. So it's a pretty big deal, and not being able to connect that little bit of extra cash definitely gonna hurt you when it's just one single best of 3. And for Bren, they're down 1 map now. It definitely sucks to be them, but what can you do, Tom? What can you do? They played this one loose. They came in for a lot of individual fights, and I respect the idea of coming in with confidence, but Checkmate, well, they did the same, but with that added little bit of a sprinkle of seasoning of team play and brought them across the line in the end. I want to see a lot more from this Techno 4K player. I think that after this tournament, I would be surprised if he doesn't get picked up by Checkmate or by somebody else if they do want to go back to their original 5th, who, as Blah has been saying all tournament long, broke his hand celebrating getting into this tournament. The irony is unbelievable.
Yeah, and the funny thing is the man that's come in, I can't imagine like that they would have been better without him. Like, he's been superb. Again, showing that like a strong defense on that B site, and that's the thing, that once they got the weaponry, it never really looked like this was ever going to go back in the other direction. So impressive showing from Checkmate. Obviously, I think the MVP of the map's a difficult one to choose. I'm interested to see who PGL go for, because the standout obviously on the Bren side was obviously Derek after Papi Chulo fell off quite hard, but there wasn't really a single man on the side of Checkmate that you could really put this victory down to. Like there was a lot of good performances. Everybody stepped up. Everybody held their own when it came to individual fights. They traded effectively and worked as a squad. So we'll see. We'll see. They're going to give it over to Rue. Fair enough. I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah, 5 multi-kill rounds, one of which was that 4K that brought them one of the final rounds, bringing them up into the lead. I definitely agree. I think Rue had a fantastic performance, and all in all, I'm impressed by what we've seen from Checkmate here, but this was not the map that we necessarily had question marks around. It was close last time they played, definitely more convincing for Checkmate. This time it looked a lot better, but the question really remains, can they make the bounce back when it comes to Train now that that little bit of confidence is behind them. Now they've got some wind in their sails. Will it carry them on through, or are they about to go into stormy waters? As they've never really succeeded on train to a degree that I'm happy with. As we said, the results, let's take a look. Beyond 16-7 win. That's great, but then you consider how terrible Beyond have been. It's not that great. They beat Paper Rex. Yeah. They lost to Watsai and Bren. Not good. So the signs are definitely looking pretty poor. They got 16-2 last time by Bren. Now we get to see if they make the bounce back. But Tom, let's throw it over to a break while we wait for that map to go live. We'll be back in just a little bit, so don't go anywhere. Map number 2 coming up just after this. The train's about to leave the station here, Tom. We're about to go and find out whether we've got an extra destination, a third map coming up, or if we're at the final destination, our last stop. Let's say it. There it is. There it is, making a gracious return. It's Tom Biss.
I forgot that even existed. I'll be honest. I forgot that was a thing.
That tickles me. It's beautiful. It truly is. Well, Tom, what do you think? You know, you are the train after all. You are Tom Biz, the tank engine. Are we going to be pulling up to one last stop, or is this a third map coming?
I would be surprised if we didn't end up going to a third map, just because Checkmate's performances on this map haven't been fantastic. At the same time, they've proven before that once they get the wind in their sails, once they're confident playing versus a certain team, they can perform quite well. And you have to bear in mind, like, out of all the teams that have come in, it looked like they did a lot of preparation for different squads. Like, they were ready for a lot of the top teams and then played poorly versus a lot of the lesser teams. Well, they've had a few days now to prepare for just Bren and Bren alone. So they should have known what maps were coming. They should have known what to expect. So if anything, hopefully they're a little bit more prepared for train this time.
One can only hope, right? 16-2. On the upside, it can't get much worse. That's how we can look at it. Oh, excuse me. My hay fever is just killing me at the moment. So yeah, looking at this map, obviously we're expecting a lot from Checkmate based on that win they just had. We don't want them to get smashed out by Bren and bring us to a third. Oh God, that is bad, Tom. But I almost sneeze twice. You ever notice that? You always sneeze the same amount of times every single time. For me, it's 2, so it's behind me.